Greetings, my name's Melissa Michaels, and I am thriving post-progressed ovarian fallopian tube cancer. I was diagnosed on March 17th in 2017 and completed chemotherapy just over a year ago. Right now I'd love to talk about integrative complementary care. And for me, that's really about caring for ourselves, not only in the most physical, allopathic way, going with that gold standard, chemotherapy and surgery if it's appropriate, and thank goodness for those treatments and those extraordinary doctors who are always staying current with the research and confident and adept at helping us eradicate cancer through those very, very conventional means. But what I came to understand is that this disease is so much more than just that. It's really a spiritual, a mental, an emotional, and honestly a community phenomenon. And by embracing the reality of that at all those levels, I feel that I've had just an extraordinary initiatory experience through this cancer and healing journey. Of course, I'm humble that cancer has its own life and mind, and we never know what our future brings. But at this point, I don't say that I'm in remission. I say that I'm done with ovarian cancer, and that it has been a profound teaching for me and reset for my entire life. When I was first diagnosed, of course there's the shock, and that can be a very disembodied state. But through calling on community and allowing that love to come pouring in, and through my own inner discipline of learning how to stay present with the sensations and the truth of the situation, which is your life is changing radically, and statistics and diagnosis have some ideas about how long you're going to get to live. Honestly, I heard it, but I did not focus my mind too much on all of that. I actually focused my attention on what needed to happen to get through this, what was happening at the most profound inner levels, both at the level of sensation in this body and at the level of my own emotional body. So I leaned into my fears. I allowed myself to really move with my anger. And of course, for me, the grief was a huge piece of it, that this life would end so seemingly prematurely, and the impact for my community, but most of all for my daughters. And so I gave room for all of that. I spoke about it. I made art with it. I danced into it. I didn't fixate on it, but I gave breath to what was happening in my heart and in my body. And with my mind, I decided you need to stay very focused, because a wandering mind in the face of a diagnosis like this can be actually pretty destructive. And it wasn't like I was in some kind of bypass of what was happening, but I gave my mind jobs. Study your options. Find ways to communicate to yourself and the world about what's happening, and be disciplined about not letting your mind just wander, and focus on health, focus on life, focus on the beautiful things and the majesty of your life, even in the midst of this messy, potentially tragic situation that you were in, that I was in. And I also allowed myself to really open to something much bigger than myself. For me, through the dance over many years, I had a sense of something bigger orchestrating and inspiring my life. So whether it's through religion or through spiritual practice or whatever it is, many of us have a sense of something bigger at work. And with this diagnosis, because I felt the disease present and the spirit of death, however people look at that, I did feel death came close. And I really honestly looked at it and said, no, not now. I'm not going there. With great humility, knowing that we don't get to decide what the the length and how many breaths we get in a lifetime. But I really made a choice that I was going to continue to orient towards life. And I asked for help. I asked for help from the unseen world, however you name that, whatever religious doorways are true for you, including not even being a believer. But I asked for help from all the people who know me and love me and whom I have loved in my life. And I'm so blessed to have people who walk in many religious and traditional ways. And so I asked for their blessings, for their prayers to pour this way. And I felt uplifted. I felt guarded and at times guided by the spiritual world and by the love of the community that in my case is a global community just because of the work I've done with this life. And I rested into that, and I feel like I was lifted and carried through that. And honestly, you know, we don't have to have a big community. We don't even need to believe, but there is a life force. We find it in nature that is powerful. And there is that breath that's somehow connecting us with something bigger that sustains life. And for me, and potentially for all of us, to keep remembering that that love and that gift of life can give us nourishment through the really rigorous terrain of a situation that is very physical in its nature. So I just want to say, for me, it became an initiatory experience where I got to open into more of myself as a spiritual being in a human body, and utilizing my creative energies along the way through movement, through drawing, through writing, really helped me remember that I'm part of a bigger story and that I'm part of creation.